Taken destruction for Australia. In Queensland, a deadly deluge, lives washed away by an inland tsunami. So many more missing. Here, homes destroyed. Fire destruction and a question, how could anyone do this?
I hope you burn in hell, mate. That's what I'd say to them.
From the studios of 7 Perth, Susannah Carr.
Good evening and welcome to 7 News. We're reporting on a day of tragedy and heartbreak. It's hard to believe, but the situation in Queensland is getting worse. The death toll has reached 9. That number could double. And there are another 66 listed as missing. Floodwaters are still rising, and now Brisbane is in trouble. And here at home, it's not flood, it's fire. At least 4 houses have been destroyed. The bushfire was deliberately lit near Lake Clifton and was uncontrollable. As well as homes and sheds, it burnt through 2,000 hectares. It's still difficult to assess the damage and still difficult to comprehend that an arsonist could put lives on the line.
I hope you burn in hell, mate. That's what I'd say to them.
We'll have live reports from the fire front soon. Now let's go to Queensland, a state in crisis. It's been grappling with floods for weeks now, but nothing prepared them for the wall of water that hit yesterday. The floodwaters have been described as an inland tsunami. There are towns underwater, including Toowoomba, Ipswich and Grantham, where we begin our coverage.
This is the Lockyer Valley town of Grantham today, 100 kilometres west of Brisbane, 400 people, 120 homes, many of them now in ruins. A scene of utter devastation. At least 4 people died here, including a mother and 2 children. There are fears it will be 6 as rooftop rescues continue. Dozens of people spent the night stranded, today hoisted to safety one by one. There are so many, men, women, children, even pet dogs. This family waves in desperation. Help came, but it took some time. Continuing bad weather is threatening helicopter rescues. It's dangerous for boats too, and road transport is out of the question.
What this current bad weather is doing is hampering our search and rescue efforts, particularly into that Lockyer Valley area where we know we have people stranded in dire and critical circumstances.
This car lies abandoned, one door flung open. It's hoped the occupants escaped, but no one can be certain with so many people listed as missing. The local river is called Sandy Creek. It's an inland sea, but it was much higher. This was one house yesterday afternoon. This is the same place today. You can see the tide mark on the roof. That's a piece of furniture washed up near the peak, the rest out in the mud. This is the Grantham Hotel on what was the main street, now marooned among its neighbours. Several occupants perch on picnic tables as they await rescue or for the water to go down. This house was torn from its foundations and flung aside, not so much flooded as sunken, beyond salvage. Just metres away, a boat left high and dry across the railway line. It came so suddenly. People online are calling it mad water. Emergency chiefs went much further.
Could perhaps best be described as an inland instant tsunami.
The rain began early yesterday, became heavy mid-morning, then all hell broke loose. A wall of water crashed down the Great Dividing Range at Toowoomba, sweeping into towns below. Places like Murphy's Creek, Helidon, Gatton, Glenore Grove and Grantham.
We have a grim and desperate situation in the Toowoomba and Lockyer Valley region.
These 3 were last seen clinging to their car roof.
We watched as the family clambered on top of the roof of their car. That's when we went and landed and made sure Queensland Fire and Rescue Officer got in our chopper and went for a look. They did grid searches trying to find them. The car was swept down the river.
Rescue crews are searching.
But given the circumstances, we hold very grave concerns for many of those people who are unaccounted for in this region.
The Warrego Highway linking Toowoomba and Brisbane is cut along with most alternate routes. Roads and bridges have been destroyed. This bridge appeared to be okay, but a closer look showed it had been well underwater. But that water is surging downstream with Brisbane directly in its path, and the rain isn't letting up. And authorities say a staggering 6,500 homes and businesses in the capital now face flooding by Thursday. Chris Reason, 7 News.
Queensland's biggest inland city, Toowoomba, remains isolated as residents try to cope with the devastation of yesterday's incredible flash flood. The Weather Bureau calls it a super rainstorm, which dumped up to 150 millimetres in half an hour.
Where do you start cleaning up after this? As the water subsided, the people of Toowoomba came out to see the damage and share their stories.
It was over the platform.
Over the platform?
Right all the way along? Yeah, in the buildings.
Was it?
Yeah.
Heavy lounge suites were tossed around the streets like toys. The rushing water destroyed the inside of several stores. This building had a wall torn off, someone's home, exposed to the elements. Dozens of cars were carried away by the raging torrent.
The buildings are all out, all the furniture's in the middle of the road. This is the worst we've ever seen it. My whole 33 years I've been here, this is the worst I've ever seen it.
The shock is still raw, and it's no wonder. This is what they witnessed when an 8-metre wall of water smashed through the centre of town.
Oh no, look!
Hey, look at that. There's a container.
There goes the container.
That's going to cause a bit of damage when it hits something.
This was Toowoomba's shopping district at the height of the disaster.
Breaking the doors at Neo Tokyo.
All they could do was watch. An unbelievable spectacle for those not caught up in it. From the safety of his second-floor office, a worker called Dave captured the rising water along Chalk Lane.
I'm so glad I parked at the front today. That's coming fast.
This is what it usually looks like. Within minutes, the first cars are washed away.
Oh my goodness.
Suddenly, Dave spots a man trying to save his four-wheel drive.
Oh mate, don't, just let it go.
As another car floats past, the man escapes the torrent just in time.
The rest of them are gone.
The water is so powerful, one car is pushed under the pedestrian bridge from further upstream.
Where's it come from?
It's not long before every single car parked along the creek is underwater or swept away. This is where they ended up, piled one on top of the other, no match for Mother Nature's fury. It was a scene repeated across Toowoomba. Rescue teams were quickly in action, saving those who couldn't escape from their cars before the flood washed them away. 4 people died in Toowoomba, including a mother and child. The search continues for more victims.
This is without doubt our darkest hour of the last fortnight.
The economic cost to Toowoomba will be enormous. Retailers surveyed the damage. The water had barely gone down, but they were worried about more destruction.
We got another 8 inches coming tonight, so this will happen again.
If there was any doubt about just how much water raced through their stores, many have a lasting reminder showing how high it came. Outside too, the water left its mark. Grass, rubbish and debris deposited high in fences, railings with enormous force.
This is the railway over to the left, and you can see the debris that's up on the side of the balcony there on the balustrade.
Work began almost immediately on the mammoth task of cleaning up. Today, Toowoomba and all its devastation is cut off from the outside world. Its immediate future depends on the weather. Pippa Gardner, 7 News.
The flood danger in Queensland is bearing down on Brisbane. The river there is rising fast after today's torrential rain. Jeff Parry joins us live from Brisbane. And Jeff, there are dozens of Brisbane suburbs preparing and waiting.
Yes, they are indeed, Susannah. It's very much a waiting game here in Brisbane. There is a wall of water heading for the Brisbane River from tributaries where it's been raining. It's been gathering that water, and it's all going to hit in the next 24 to 36 hours. They're the critical times. Next, they're talking tomorrow of a tide or a flood peak of about 3.5 metres, and on Thursday, which is going to be the really dangerous day, it's going to be over 5 metres. Now, some 80 suburbs are going to be inundated. That's something like 6,600 homes and properties, businesses occupied by some 14,000 people, and something, Susannah, like another 16,500 homes that will partially be affected. They say this will be probably bigger than the '74 flood.